Hey there, have you ever looked at a picture of the Great Pyramid of Giza and just thought, whoa, it's like one of the oldest, biggest puzzles in the entire world. And you know what? Today, we're going to solve one of its biggest secrets together. Now, the Great Pyramid isn't just big, it's huge. Seriously, it's like a mountain made of stone. But the most amazing part isn't just how big it is, it's how perfect it is. I mean, the bottom of it is an almost perfect square, and its sides point exactly north, south, east, and west. How cool is that? So that gets you thinking, right? How on earth did they do that? We're talking thousands of years ago. They didn't have any of the stuff we have today. No computers, no lasers, no power tools. So what was their secret? Come on, let's put on our detective hats and figure this out. Okay, so the very first clue to solving this giant puzzle isn't found on the ground. You have to look way, way up into the sky. You see, the ancient Egyptians were amazing stargazers. They would watch the stars move across the night sky very, very carefully. And by tracking those stars, they figured out how to find true north. That's the direction that points right to the North Pole. This was super important. It gave them their starting line, the very first side of their giant square, aimed perfectly. All right, so they knew which way was north. Now what? What did they actually use to build the base of the pyramid? Let's take a peek inside the Pyramid Builder's toolkit. You'll see it's full of simple but super clever tools. Now, these might look pretty simple, right? But in the hands of a smart builder, they could work actual wonders. The real secret wasn't just what the tools were. It was how the Egyptians used them so cleverly to build something so perfect. Okay, let's break it down. First up, they had these strong wooden measuring rods. Now, you might think, why not use rope? Well, rope can stretch and mess up your measurements. But these wooden rods, they were solid and always gave the right length. Then, for making sure the walls went straight up and down, they used something called a plumb bob. It's really just a weight on a string. Simple, but it works perfectly. And to make sure the ground was totally flat before they even laid a single stone, they used this thing called an A-frame level. So clever. Okay, so they've got their starting line pointing north, and they've got their tools all ready. But now came the trickiest part of all. How do you make a perfect 90-degree corner to build a perfect square? They didn't have a giant protractor like you might use in math class. Nope. Instead, they used this incredibly smart trick with a giant triangle. This right here is the real secret to how the pyramid is so perfect. So, want to see how they did it? It's awesome. First, they laid down their straight line pointing north. Then, they picked a spot way out in the sand to make a big triangle. Now, here's the trick. They would carefully measure the distance from each end of their line all the way to that new spot. They'd keep moving the spot around until those two measurements were exactly the same. And once those two sides of the triangle were equal, bam! A line from the middle of their north line out to that spot made a perfect 90-degree corner. Isn't that just brilliant? Okay, that triangle trick sounds pretty simple and super smart, but did it really work? I mean, how close did they actually get to a perfect square? Well, the most amazing thing is we don't have to guess. We can actually check their work thousands of years later. Today, scientists have gone right up to the pyramid with super precise lasers and all sorts of modern gadgets to measure everything. They can tell us exactly how good those ancient builders were. And get this, the results are just mind-blowing. Each side is over 230 meters long. That's like putting 2.5 football fields end to end. And the difference between the longest side and the shortest side? It's tiny. It's less than the width of your hand. For something that huge, that is just incredible. And what about those corners we were talking about? A perfect corner is exactly 90 degrees, right? Well, the corner they made was just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit off from being perfect. It's so close you'd never, ever be able to see the difference just by looking at it. To help you picture just how tiny that little error is, think about this. Imagine you're standing at one end of a football field and a friend is holding up two fingers at the other end. That super small angle your fingers make from that far away, well, that's about the size of the mistake the pyramid builders made. It's almost no mistake at all. And this isn't just one person's idea. Years later, a totally different team of scientists went and measured the pyramid all over again with their own tools. And you know what they found? The exact same thing. The pyramid is almost perfectly square. So we know for sure just how amazing those ancient builders really were. So what does all this mean? How do they pull off this giant, seemingly impossible puzzle? You know, for years, people have come up with all sorts of wild ideas. Like maybe aliens built the pyramids, or maybe they used some kind of lost magic. But the real answer is actually way more impressive than that. It was built by people, just regular people like you and me. People who were incredibly clever, super patient, and worked together as a team. They used simple tools, sure, but they combined them with brilliant ideas, like using the stars to find their way, and that awesome triangle trick to make perfect corners. The Great Pyramid really shows us what humans can do with a smart plan and a lot of teamwork. It really makes you think, doesn't it? If they could build something so huge and perfect that's lasted for thousands of years, all with just sticks and strings and stones, just imagine, what amazing things could you build today with just a few simple tools and your own clever plan?